Many of these prejudices come from pre-existing racial stereotypes, sexism, and even bias associated with age. Prejudice is a hard truth that we all must face. However, in a country that boasts equal rights for all, why do we give this prejudice opportunity to exist at all, especially in our judicial system? We say it again and again that America is free and America is fair. However, allow this shocking injustice to reoccur. Discrimination exists in every corner of the criminal justice system. The United States is the world's leading jailer with 2.2 million behind bars. But a prime example of the racial disparity in the criminal justice system is the war on drugs. Even though all ethnic groups distribute drugs illegally at roughly the same rate, today African Americans and Hispanics make up more than 60% of imprisoned individuals. For black males in their 30s, 1 in 10 is in prison right now. Despite numerous studies depicting similar levels of participation in nonviolent crimes by whites, Hispanics, and African Americans, notably drugs, weapon possession, and speeding, the Bureau of Justice statistics show minorities are arrested and incarcerated at higher rates for these crimes. Because minority communities are seen as high crime areas, police officers tend to focus on these areas. The population of the prison population is very different from the population at large. Whites make up 64% of total population, but only 31% of those in prison. Blacks represent 15% of society, yet make up 30% of prison population. Hispanics are 16% of America, but only 24% of the American prison population. If people are so worried about inequality in America, then this deserves much more attention and discussion. Trayvon Martin case has arguably the most national attention in all racial cases. Let's take a closer look at it. This African American teen was walking around his neighborhood block wearing a hoodie because it was cold. He was noticed by a white police officer, George Zimmerman, who said he looked suspicious. He contacted his higher up and was told not to pursue Martin. However, he went against this order, pursued him, shot him, fatally wounded him, and killed him. The verdict was Zimmerman was not guilty, and the race of the judge and the jury, white. Cece McDonald was an African-American transgender woman who was attacked in 2011 by a group of white neo-Nazis who were yelling transphobic and racial slurs at her. After being slashed in the face with a bottle, she finally defended herself. But during the trial, she was sentenced to 41 months in prison in a men's facility while her attackers got off scot-free.
Post-racial society, huh? The two mentioned cases are just scratching the surface of generations of racial injustice and discrimination. How is it that a country that promotes equality could stand for this? In its judicial system, no less. Only 1 in 100 Americans are in jail, but for some, racial, gender, and age groups, that ratio is a lot larger. For example, if you're young, black, and a man, that ratio is about 1 in 4. That means you have a higher chance of going to jail than getting into college or getting married. And how many times has America boasted equal rights for both genders? In large federal criminal cases, men receive 63% longer sentences on average than women do. The gender gap is 6 times as large as the racial disparity gap, with women only making up 6.8%. Professor Sandra Starr of the University of Michigan Law School examined a huge dataset of federal criminal cases. Unlike other studies that looked only at the sentencing stage, she followed the fate of defendants from arrest through sentencing. Her findings were shocking. After controlling for the arrest offense, criminal history, and other prior characteristics, and looking at the process from beginning to end, she found that women are significantly more likely than men to avoid charges and convictions altogether, and twice as likely to avoid incarceration if arrested. Think about it, if the genders were reversed, do you think the convictions would have been the same?
Many of these prejudices come from pre-existing racial stereotypes, sexism, and even bias associated with age. Prejudice is a hard truth that we all must face. However, in a country that boasts equal rights for all, why do we give this prejudice opportunity to exist at all, especially in our judicial system? We say it again and again that America is free and America is fair. However, allow this shocking injustice to reoccur.
I don't understand why more people haven't thought of this.
Okay, but like, what if the identity of the defendant was important to the case? Like, they have to know that.
Well, I guess like in all things there's exceptions. So if something about the person was really important, it could be used as evidence, it would be presented when everything else was. Like before a trial, they show everything to the judge and make sure it gets approved. I guess they'd show it then.
Yeah, okay. But the accused still have a right to testify, so it's not like they can't be there.
Well, I guess they can have like a recording that they.
Okay, but
played
that
before.
still like gives them away because you can tell if someone's African American by the way they speak, or if they're a guy or a girl.
Well, then I guess like the lawyer would hear it beforehand, and then somebody would recite it in court.
Like a written document.
Yeah, and they would just read it off to the jury. So that way you get the testimony without seeing the person or hearing the person.
Okay, that makes sense.
I don't understand how we haven't heard of this before.
Yeah, this actually sounds like something we can get on board with.
Is there something we can do? Someone we could talk to?
Okay, we could email somebody, like a representative, someone with a high status that could get people to like understand what we're talking about.
Sure, let's go find the email.
Okay.